Hey folks, thank you for joining us for an exciting episode of Yomo. This is the Year of Magical Learning podcast. Today we are doing reflection 248, which is the conclusions of what we talked about yesterday, the book called Dreamland, and it's about this opioid epidemic. So it's exciting to see, what Chris has in mind for the dramatic conclusion. Dun dun dun.
Yeah, actually, random side note. Do you know why Dreamland is called Dreamland?
Didn't you say something about the name of some kind of a place?
It actually used to be this this massive pool in rural Ohio. It was like you ever see the movie The Sandlot? You know what I'm talking about?
No, no,
You ever see
no.
The Sandlot?
No.
It's about like
I
a
haven't
kid's
I haven't seen all that stuff.
uh, Sandlot's like one of the best, uh
I know
cool
the Office Space.
no.
That I
So
know.
here I'll show you a photo of it. So Dreamland is actually the name of a pool.
Oh,
And
okay.
it used to be called, I'll just share my screen really fast. Um it was this massive like pool. It was like the size of a football field, and it was
Okay.
in like rural Ohio. And the reason why it's called Dreamland is because like the
Everybody want to go
opioid.
there?
What's that?
Everybody want to go there?
Well, no, everybody, like, this is like the idyllic form of like, suburbia and like the Midwest, is just a massive pool in the summertime where everybody would go and families would gather and you'd meet your friends. And this pool in this area of Ohio and Plymouth or Portsmouth, Ohio, like the rural Midwestern cities and states
Hmm.
got devastated by the opioid epidemic. And it was like such a huge what do you call it, dichotomy or juxtaposition between like what life used to be like in these areas and then like what life has become now with like just people strung out all over the place. I mean, like in Virginia, have you ever driven through West Virginia before in your life? You ever been in that state
No.
before? It's actually
Nope.
really pretty. It's a really pretty state, but like you drive through like Huntington, West Virginia, which is probably like one of the most populated areas of the state. It's really not that big. It's maybe like 100,000 people that live there.
Hmm.
It's like, I mean, there's like every ER call, an emergency call, somebody just ODing on opioids. Like every single, I mean, it's like that's all the drugs, all the crimes, I mean, it is just devastated these like rural white suburban communities or not suburban, rural white communities in the Midwestern and kind of like you know Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, like I mean, like just destroyed these communities. And it went from places like where you got Dreamland, this pool that used to be like utopia like place, and
Hmm.
to like the prom queen being strung out on opioids. I mean, and like no joke. I mean, like it was like this was like the first like drug addiction uh major epidemic of drugs that plagued like white middle and lower class people, you know what I mean.
Hmm.
And this wasn't like some urban seedy underground drug. This was like kids in high school that are just popping opioids all day long because the pills were just running through these pill mills all over these places. And people on disability leave and whatever, and like they got addicted to this stuff, and it became the economy. I mean, like people literally like made their livelihoods in these small towns off of selling pills. It was devastating. But that's why it's called Dreamland. It's about this pool, and then now it's like a parking lot. Today, it's they literally like paved
They,
paradise, and put
they
up a
they
parking lot.
fill it. They fill it in the pool, the massive pool.
It's literally, I think it's
Oh, okay.
uh I don't know if they have like photos of it. I'm sure there's like I could go find it, but I think it's like a parking lot now. Anyway,
Okay.
it doesn't
I
matter.
believe you.
So that's why it's called Dreamland.
I see.
So the reflection part two is community is the antidote to pain. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, but we didn't go too deep into it. The author, said in one of his quotes that really stood out to me, kind of hit me like a ton of bricks listening to this thing, is in our isolation, heroin thrives, right? That's because, like we talked about, opioids, benzos, heroin, other forms of opiates, all have one thing in common, and that is pure isolation. These are not drugs that you go to a rave and go, go mingle with a bunch of people. These are drugs you go retreat to your bedroom and you shoot up and you fall asleep by yourself, or maybe around one other person that's also falling asleep, right? That is how these drugs are consumed and used. These drugs are designed to pull us further and further away from the world and the people
But
around.
isn't that most drugs though? I mean,
no, not at all. Like cocaine or methamphetamines or MDMA, like Molly, or hell, even things like LSD and mushrooms and stuff like that. It brings people wanting to connect together, like party drugs and drugs like that, of wanting to experience the sensory world around you, of like mushrooms and psilocybin and psychedelics and stuff like that. These are like, you think of like the hippies and Woodstock and whatever. They're not all, if Woodstock was a festival that people were all just shooting up heroin, there would be no festival, because they would all just be asleep in a tent. That's not how opioids work. Like it's like they are drugs done in isolation.
okay.
And most drugs aren't like that. I would say this is probably maybe marijuana, but even with marijuana, like stoners always want to be a stoner with somebody else. Like, I mean, stoner, like you don't like go party with it, smoking weed or something like that, but like you certainly like to do it with your friends, like it's just, this is not one of those drugs like alcohol, tobacco. I mean, all these things, like, every drug that I can think of are all drugs you do with other people. I mean, like, I don't know. I can't think of a single drug that that is like that.
Well, I mean, you're talking about alcohol, right? Most people who are alcoholic, they are drink by themselves. I mean, they don't drink.
Alcoholics are different than people that drink alcohol. Like, I had friends that
Right,
were
right. They're talking about alcohol versus alcoholics, right? That's two
right.
different things. So I think it's the strength of the drugs. If you get to the point where you're addicted to it, you're gonna be by yourself in isolation, whether that's Molly's or anything else. Like even if you do the mushrooms, right? You want to get together because you think about like if you have some sort of a partial control over your body, over your mental state, you can have that community, like the social drinking. You drink because you crave the social connections. But when you are too addicted to the alcohol, for example, you're gonna be drinking by yourself. And so I think mushroom is the same way. I mean, yeah, mushroom give you the psychedelic where you are, you basically open the passage for other sensories to take in. But at the same token, giving the ability for you to be addicted to something, you're not gonna wait for somebody to, hey, let's go and do some mushrooms together, right? And you're gonna say, well, I want mushrooms, I'm gonna take mushrooms. So most of the time you're gonna be on your own, depending on how frequently you're doing it. Just like you drink wine or you're drinking alcohol and beers, for example. Most people they want some sort of a social community, some kind of interaction. That's what they crave. They crave that, and the beer actually brings them together, and that's it's just like beers, coffee, right? That's the same thing.
Yeah.
You don't lose yourself entirely, but enough of it you will. So I think the opioid is on a next level of strength. Meaning when you took the opioid, it basically cuts your sensory from the world altogether. You have no partial control over. Yeah, even if you drink alcohol, you still have like 80% control of your brain, right? Your brain is slower, but you can still, be figured out. Okay, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. When it isn't as you're completely like disconnected, when you still be able to think and reason with some, you know, slowness to it. But like I say, it's the level of strength that it can disconnect you. And I think with these things is on a whole level, it's a whole nother level of disconnectedness. And but the thing is, you're right in terms of the word isolation. Whatever it is, if you are isolated, right? Because we are not we are a social creature. Isolation is not something we want. It is against our nature to be in isolation.
Yeah, and it drives more and more. That's the second part of this whole thing. So so these are drugs of isolation.
Drug of human do not. I mean, I don't care if you don't take any drugs. Okay, I don't care if you take any drugs. If you are in isolation and disconnect from the world, eventually you will lose your ways as well.
Yeah, I mean, agreed. So that's actually here. I'll just finish the reflection
before I ruin it.
So here's the thing though, is like pain sucks, right? We talked about this yesterday. Like pain is painful, you know. I mean, it sucks. Like like I think of like, you know, pain is isolating. Like when we're in pain, we retreat, right? Like, that's natural, you know. Like you talked about with your hand on the stove yesterday. When you're in pain, you retreat, and you want to go lick your wounds. You want to go, you know, shield yourself. You want to go isolate yourself a lot of times, you know, and when you're in pain, and like, you know, this whole entire journey began in pain for me. And I retreated. I was in, I after Amelia passed away, like I didn't want to talk to anybody. I mean, literally, like people would call me and I wouldn't answer my phone for months on end. Like, I mean, there was people that I still had voicemails from that I wouldn't listen to, because I knew what they were calling about. I didn't want to hear my Uncle Matt call me and say, you know, nephew, I'm sorry, you know, like, you know, you lost. I didn't call him back. I just didn't answer. I didn't text him. I didn't call. People would text me. I didn't call. I didn't text back. I didn't want to respond to messages. Like, I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to leave my house. I didn't want to leave my bedroom. Like, I didn't want to leave anywhere. I retreated. Like, you know, luckily, like for me, Amelia and her strength helped me to keep moving forward a little bit every single day. And that's ultimately how we get to where we are to today. But like the point of the matter is like pain hurts, and it makes you want to, you know, go lick your wounds by yourself in your bedroom and not talk to somebody. Right. And for me, it's not a huge stretch of the imagination. We talked about this yesterday too, you know, where, you know, you said like if you were in a lot of pain with your diabetes, and it's not a huge stretch of the imagination for you to say that if somebody ever offered you a pain relief, and, you know, you would have done anything to relieve a lot of that pain that you were experiencing, and that, you know, you could have easily become one of those opioid addicts or whatever. That's just another statistic. And I definitely could have easily been, you know, one of those people as well. And I don't know why I'm not. And I mean, I don't know how I've avoided, you know, some of these things, but I can easily have imagined myself, you know, in my isolation going, I don't know what to do, and going to a doctor or something like that. And then just saying, well, here's take your pick of whatever pill you want, you know. Do you want a, you know, a benzo to relieve your anxiety and your stress? Do you want an opioid to, you know, relieve your pain or whatever you're in? Do you want marijuana? Do you want, you know, alcohol? I mean, I don't even need to go to the doctor to get alcohol or marijuana or whatever, you know. Like, it's the point is like I could have, when you're in pain, you want to find anything to soothe pain. But the truth of the matter is the only thing for, you know, and this author says it very, very well, the antidote to heroin is community. And, you know, extrapolating that out, it's these people need to connect back together with other people, you know. Like when you start to leverage your you know, the people around you that love you, and you start to slowly meander your way back into this world and figure out like how to be a human being again, and problem solve on your own, and you know, the whole antidote to pain, in my opinion, not just heroin or drugs or whatever, is community. I mean, hell, true, you think about this journey that I've been on with you, like my pain reliever of choice is writing and sharing the story of Amelia and I together with the world, right? That's how you and I first connected. And that's how this whole journey began. And that's what, you know, I do to try to soothe my own pain in a lot of ways, right? And having you here to talk to me about this stuff, having Amelia still with me every single day, having other people that I, have shared her story with that connect with me to tell me how inspirational Amelia is. That's the only reason why I'm still probably even able to engage in a conversation in this world. And it was people, and sharing my story and connecting with other people and not isolating myself was the antidote to my pain. Not not further isolation, right? So like I really think that this is an important message to like share to a lot of people, especially people that are in pain. It sucks and you want to lick your wounds and you want to retreat, but like the best thing you can do is to go find other people to share your story with and run at them with open arms, and keep problem solving yourself, do your job, but at the same time, like, let other people help you too. Like, cause that's a part of, don't do it alone. Right. One of our core values is a clubby. So anyway, I'll pause there. I'd love to get your thoughts about just kind of,
Yeah, I
general.
think I agree with what you say, but I want to clarify my opinion a little bit in terms of we as a human being, right? We have pain as a safeguard for our preservation of life. So when we're in pain, everything else is put on hold. I mean, I don't have the kind of time bomb you have, but when I was in pain, I don't want to talk to anyone either. I mean, that's just our nature, because everything, the pain you feel is always on top of your mind, and you cannot think about anything else. There's nothing else you want other than how do I get rid of this pain.
Right.
And the thing is, if like I say, because of my my like I don't know the information of opioid. That's why I didn't get into it. And no one was gonna like come across like me and say, hey, True, you should take this, you should take that, right? Because because they didn't. If they did, I would have taken it. But because in this world it's random, so you basically have to understand our nature a little bit. Our nature is to preserve our life, and this thing called pain is our lifesaver, but it's also the the thing that causes misery.
That
And
hurts.
when we have pain, that's the only thing we can focus on, nothing else. So that's why, regardless of what kind of level of pain you have, like yours or mine,
I don't know that.
I mean, I can relate based on what I see. I mean, to me, I don't know what I would do if I was in your shoe. Okay, when I read your book, I don't know. I would be. I mean, from reading your book, I'm pretty terrified. I was very terrified that something like that will happen to me, and I don't know if I can even have the psychological strength to take it, because what do I do at that point? And so that is something that I think it trumps every other activity that we have in mind. So nothing will actually interest into our mind when the pain is just like you're doing something right now, and then somebody comes and say, hey, the tornado is coming. Well, do you say, well, let the tornado be whatever? I gotta ride this thing, or I gotta finish my craft, or I gotta do the crochet or whatever, right?
Right.
So you drop everything and you take care of the most pressing thing, which is whatever the pain comes and tell you. And so that's why we are isolated. And by nature, the pain that we have is the only way for us to preserve our life. But at the same time, it basically detach us from our community. And the thing is, the antidote to heroin is community. Well, I mean, I kind of agree, but I don't agree with it 100%, because the thing is that it's not, the antidote isn't the community. The antidote is you. You are the antidote. The community is there is to lighten the level of pain you have. Because the thing is, when you talk to me, you let go of some of those things, right? You don't hold on to it. So it kind of alleviates some of the pain, so you can get to the next level where you have a better understanding, or you have a stronger psychological ability to take the pain. The thing is, when you have let's say when when you first experience the pain, right? The pain is so vivid and it's so searing that you felt everything. But now that you have been able to be, I guess, don't feel as much. That doesn't mean you don't have the pain. It's just that you're able
Oh,
to withstand it much better than you were in the beginning. So
right.
it's not like, hey, whenever you go through these things, right? There's no arrows in your back. There's no scars. There's no wounds that you have. It's just that you have the strength to carry the wounds with you.
Right.
And so to me, you are the antidote. Don't forget that the community is to help you become that person, that new Chris, that new True, that new whoever you are. That new person is able to take on the pain, right? The pain is still there. You can still remember your daughter. You can still feel the pain inside, but that pain, you're able to to handle it. In the beginning, you didn't have experience handling it. It was so searing to you, right? And that's when you will completely say, well, I cannot focus on anything. I have to figure out what it is. But if somebody has the experience, for example, let's say somebody want to chase tornadoes, storm chases, right? They have the ability to understand what they need to do, and still be able to navigate the things that's around them, the debris and everything, right? And so they have a more resiliency in terms of the tornado or the storm. But I'm telling you, the strength of the storm is no weaker than before. It's just you're able to handle it better. So I think community allows you to kind of let the you be able to let some of these things be able to build up to become a new person.
I hear what you're saying, and I agree to a certain extent. But I'll say this: like, however you want to define community, whether that's one person, 3 people, 10 people, I don't care. It doesn't matter. I think of community as one other person's enough for community, right? For me,
The words matter because community, by I guess sheer definition of community, it means like, hey, you belong to a group of people, right? Whether
right.
you share things or not, that's still community. Whether you live in a place, let's say you live
Well,
in a surrounding, but you don't talk to them. Then even if you live in a place with a lot of people, but let's say you live in a condo, right? In a condominium with a bunch of people, but you don't talk to them, you still
right.
isolated,
That's
right?
not a community.
So
Yeah, yeah.
so the word community is not about, it's not interchangeable to the community that we think about, right? So the definition of community, there's multiple meanings to
Right.
community. Meaning like there's community of people like you, me, right? We don't live in the same locale, right? But we are a community nonetheless because we belong to this group of members called company, right? So
Right.
that's a community, and to me, that's define the community we're talking about. But a community in terms of I live near you or I go to same grocery store does not define as the community, even though in the definition they say, hey, community, it's just people that around you. Like let's
Right.
say let's say your family, right? Let's say you and your wife. But if you don't talk to your wife, you don't share the pain with your wife. Like when you you know um back like when you guys were like completely like in separate rooms, right?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
So you guys are actually together in the same house,
Oh, we were totally isolated. I
but
mean,
you're
like it.
completely isolated, right? So
We,
to me,
yeah.
in the definition of that community, it doesn't work.
That's what I was getting at. Is I know you said the treatment is me, but like here's the thing that like I don't think that anybody will ever understand about my life these days is I'm never alone, ever, ever, ever. Like
But
whether
that's the thing. If we're talking about your our superpower is our imagination, but the
right,
culture is the ultimate weapon, right? Because you allow these things to I guess share across the hive, right? The web of our imagination allows you to become a better person. Like one person can't not hunt down a woolly mammoth,
right,
but a group of 10 people that works together, not just a group of 10 people that does whatever they want. A group of 10 people works together can hunt down a woolly mammoth.
and that's kind of what I'm
And
getting
so
at is
so
like
culture and community, it's like the more of like the synonyms in this regards.
real community, true community, right? So
A
like you can call
community
it
in the sense of community, like having
like
the
helping each other, like a group
yes,
of people that have shared interests and
a
values.
tribe, right?
Right. Like, so like my tribe, that I always have with me is now these days, and this was part that was discovered on this journey. Is Amelia is always still with me. Like and we spend time together every single day, and everything that I do, she's here in this conversation right now. And I've told you this a million times.
Right.
That is what living for. So she's I'm never alone. Like, whenever I'm doing any of the stuff, as long as I'm doing the things that I promised her that I would do, which is the stuff that
Right. I believe you because I'm saying is because you're living for two, you can't do whatever you want to do because
I
you're gonna
can't.
say, well, what would Amelia do?
I talk to her all the
You know,
time.
I mean,
I
because
ask
the
all,
thing is, you go and you say, well, I want to steal this thing from this person. You can't because Amelia's in you. And you say,
I
well, if I live for two, Amelia say, well, Amelia wouldn't do it. So if I do it, then that's not living for two. Therefore, you are living for two, like with actual proof. Because I'm
yeah.
telling you, you can't do it. You can say, hey,
It's
I'm going to, cheat on my grocery when I scan. I'm gonna
right.
scan whatever. I'll be whatever that characteristic or values that um you imagine Amelia carries, it will carry in you. That means that you cannot do the thing that it violates that principle.
I told you
You
about
can't do
this
it.
two. I told you this 2 days ago when Luca had his eye boogers again.
Right?
After it had been 2 weeks, and I sat in the car for 5 minutes going, I this is no fucking joke. I'm not crazy and I'm not weird or anything, but like I sat in the car and I said I had an argument with Amelia, and I was like, I need to get shit done today, and she was like, okay,
No.
should you does this violate your integrity, knowing that Luca woke up this morning with shit in his eyes, and that's not allowed at daycare? I mean, you cleaned out his eyes, they can't tell, and he probably won't have it the rest of the day, but you will know that happened. And I sat there having this fucking argument, like in the car for 5 minutes, and finally I was like, you know what, even though this makes my life harder, I don't want to be that person. So I would not. That's
Right, because Amelia is talking to you, it's stopping you
right.
from doing it. Because, like I say, if you always live for two and you always have Amelia on top of mind, you gonna always imagine, okay, if I do this thing, right, what would Amelia do? And so it contradicts your psyche, right? Your psyche is saying, well,
Right.
there's two person in me, right?
Right.
Me, my soul, and my daughter's soul. So
But then
I
it gets even
cannot, I
it
can't,
get
I can do, like I said, I wanna do something bad, but I say, well, you can't do it. So
right.
he's gonna tell you out of it.
I know. Well, and then extrapolate that out to you, right? Like, I mean, we talk every night, and same things. Like I bring ideas to you, and you're like, we have these conversations every single day, and we, you keep me in check, and I keep you in check, and then like that's what a real community is, right? So like when I say that a community, to
Right,
the
right.
antidote to pain is community, like it really is true, because like it's we have to hold each other accountable and keep each other on the path that we say that we want to be, and you only can do that with other people. Like, I mean, and like that's like I can't do that by myself. Like like you may say, Chris, that was you. You're just crazy, and I'm going to say, no, that wasn't me. Like, I can promise you, like these weren't my values before I met my daughter, and this isn't what I think about every single day. I think about what she would do, or what she would want me to do, or what living for two means to me, and what I've been writing about for 3 years. Like, this is a part of me. This is a part of my identity. Like I hate to say this, but like yes, I have Amelia that does that stuff, but for a lot of people in this world, that's God. That is what God is. God is always there. You see that photo of the two footprints, and the poem of like, well, where were you when my life was worse? And it's like God was like, well, that was when I was carrying you, you dumbass. Like I mean, like it's a because like that is true. God is always there. We always have that, the ability to have a conversation with ourselves. I just have two people that I can have a conversation with every single day, and one of them I prefer a lot more than God, which is my daughter, that I don't get a chance to to see in the presence anymore. But sometimes I talk to God too, right? But like it's less than when I talk to Amelia. But either way, like the point is we always have somebody to talk to, like, right? Like it's when you retreat into pure isolation that like you've talked about this with the worst thing you can do in a prison, right? Is straight isolation with somebody, because like that's basically what heroin is. Like, I mean, it's like like, I mean, if you want somebody to you know, to get better and to rehabilitate themselves into society, it is not, the answer is not throw them into into a prison. And we've learned this as humanity. You can't just throw them into a prison cell and lock them away and think that they're gonna, pray themselves out of that. You know what I mean? Like they need you. Everybody needs somebody.
Right. I mean, that's why, when you do something bad in the prison, they put you in solitary confinement, right? Even when you're in prison, you still have your cellmates, right? And then
Right.
you have this yard time and this work program. So you have people there when you're in isolation. And the thing is, they like, let's say you go into prison and you shank somebody, right? You kill somebody. They put you in isolation for 3 days. It's 3 fucking days,
Right.
right? And that's enough to drive you crazy. It drives people mad.
It's awful. I mean, like,
It
and
is against our human nature. It is gonna drive you mad. No one can stand isolation.
what these
No
drugs
one.
do. This is what these drugs do. They
And
drive people away from each other.
and if the drug allows you to slip into isolation, that's basically is a point of no return.
This is what this drug does. It destroys families, it breaks bonds, it breaks relationships, and all these people want to do is to go by themselves and shoot up and get high and fall asleep. Like that's it. Like that I mean, like I read another book that we haven't done yet. I don't think it's called the Fifth Vital. It was this book by this social media influencer. His name's Mike, who's Logan Paul's like podcast host or something like that. I didn't even know who this guy was. His name's like Mike Mayuk or Matt Matchuk. I forget how to say his last name. It's like Matchuk or something. His book was, he was a strung out opioid addict, pill popping, kind of dude. And it was about his life and his recovery. We'll talk about the reflection from that one in the future. But man, the shit that this stuff does to people's families and lives. Like I told you about this with one of my best friends in Adam, right? He was methamphetamines is kind of one of these kind of drugs that kind of brings people, like isolates people as well a lot. But not to the extremes of opioids. But like, I mean, he lost everything, man. He lost every single human connection in this world, minus probably me and a few other people. He didn't have anybody. Like I mean, like the more people that he lost in his life, the more bleak that his life looked. Like, and he knew it. Like, and like that's the thing with this stuff. Like it drives you further and further and further away from people, and you think that you're soothing your pain by going further and further into isolation, and it just makes it worse and worse and worse. The
But that's the
antidote
thing is, you when you drowning in that kind of a state, you cannot save yourself.
Right.
Somebody else have to save you. I mean, somebody else has to reach in and like pull you out. And so when you in that kind of a trance, right? That it's the point. That you don't want it, but the addiction is so strong. It is so strong that you continue to do that.
The pain is so strong.
And yeah, the pain is so strong for you to leave it. Is strong. The addiction to running away and bearing the pain is so great that you are willing to sacrifice everything. You're willing to sacrifice even your life.
Right.
You know that if this is going to kill you, you still would take it. Like I say, I have had the pain of this diabetes, right, conditions. Like I say, I would do whatever, even though if it kills me, it doesn't bother me if it kills me. So that's the power of pain in terms of the running away from it. Yeah. Because what else is it? Because you cannot focus on anything. You say, well, there is this bright future, or that never crosses your mind because you can't even
it's a hell loop.
You can't even like set aside your pain for even a second.
Right.
Your pain is constant. So it's not like, hey, let me leave the pain right on the side for a bit. Let me focus on one single second of the solutions or the futures of my family or those things don't have room in your mind anymore because pain takes over completely 100%. And the only way to get that is somebody reach in and pull you out by the neck. And that's why I think community it's vital for you to, but the thing is, if there is community but you don't connect, right, then community is not really a community. Let's say you try to reach out to your friend, but he's not willing to accept the assistance from you. He can be helped. You
Right.
think about it. He can't be helped if he's not. He think if you reach down and you trying to pull him up, but he doesn't want to be pulled up, then how can you help him? So to me, like,
You can't.
yes, you're right. Community is part of the solutions to getting you out of this isolation, but community isn't the only thing that you need. You still need that the ability to better yourself in a way to get farther away from this addiction, because that addiction is so strong that you need the initial push from the external uh, person that in the community that understands what you're going through and trying to pull you out. That's what I'm saying is,
Right.
once you're in a trance, you cannot get out by yourself. You have to rely on somebody. And because we have this natural ability to socialize and to be connected, we need that to get our strength. Because
I
without
mean,
that, we are completely gonna drown, and we're gonna get, washed away by the force of this isolations.
from agreed. From day one, from hour one, from the moment that I woke up at around noon on April 22nd of 2020, after Amelia had passed away. We got home at like 6:30 in the morning or something, 7:30 in the morning or something like that, and just collapsed because we'd been up all night long after Amelia, was taking her last breaths with, that story, obviously. And we just collapsed, like nothing in my mind when I woke up. The only reason I moved that day was because of Amelia. Like, I mean, I literally, she drugged me out of bed and made me go move, and go try my best to write something to her, and to go try my best to go take a walk with my wife, and to try my best to eat some food, like it was her. I know it was. I remember I wrote that poem that I wrote it in the book. Like, it was, what would Amelia do? That was what I wrote that first day. And I was like, she gets up, she moves, she goes. Like, she keeps fighting. She keeps, like, she was with me the first fucking day, the first hour after this all happened, like, and if she wasn't there, like, I don't know where I would be at this point in
Right.
time. Like, I mean, like, I mean, like, I can't even describe to you, I can't even fathom, like, where I was right now to where I am right now today without her help and her continued help, and then your help along the way, and then other people have joined in. But, like, really, between
Yeah, I mean,
you, God, and Amelia, like,
she's the one that saved you. I
right,
mean, without her, because the thing is, when you were writing to her in the hospital in the NICU, she was, part of you already, and she
right,
continues to allow you to ask what would Amelia do, and that's why you probably got saved by her, and similarly
a thousand times.
because of what you do, right? You probably like influence your wife as well. Because I mean, I
Sure.
remember in the book, you guys were completely isolated, even in the same house. You don't talk to each other. You just be in the room, and she cries on her own, and you go and you cry on your own. I mean,
Yeah.
you are completely isolated. Who's there to carry you out? Somebody text you, you don't want to text back. Your
I,
mom's call you, you want to call back. Because the thing is,
right.
I completely understand that feeling, because I have to pay myself. Is because the pain is so searing that you can't think about anything else. I mean, you don't. I mean, nothing even come close to say, hey, maybe I can have I can maybe. There's debate. There's no debate in that. It's like, pain is too painful. I can't deal with this right now.
Right.
That's what you do. But the thing is, the person that drags you out, right, is the person that saves you, because without that person, drags you completely inside that trance, and when you cannot wake yourself up and get out of trance yourself. And that's
Yeah.
why community, it is super important. But it still has to be like, you ask about me, and me always say, hey, if you ask me what I would do, I would get up and go. But if you don't decide to do what she asked you to do, then at that same token, right,
It's
you don't want to be
mutual. Right.
you don't
It's
want to be
mutual.
saved. Therefore, even if she's trying to drag you out, you're gonna go back to the same isolation cube or the depth of isolation that you have.
Right.
Just
That's
like
why
you know, just like you know, people in a prison, right? Regardless if somebody's trying to help that person, if they decide that they could lit a cigarette, they're gone. There's no saving them.
there's a reason why I say living for two and not living for, for Amelia, or living for, or for me, because it is mutual. Like, I mean, this is her life and my life. Like, I'm doing it both because I want to do it, because I want to honor her, but at the same time, this is my life. Like, I mean, I make no qualms about it of like, I don't know that this is what Amelia would have loved to have done. I know that I know what I love to do, and I know that doing that honors what she would want to be done in this world, and I know that
But
that's
you
how
have
she
seen,
lived her
well,
life.
you have
Right.
seen her character. Basically, I
She
would
did
know
it
what
every
would
single
you,
day.
because I know you enough now. I would know what you would do, right? The thing is, I'm telling you, like, for you to go and bash somebody on the head for no reason, I think that you cannot do it, because I know your
I
character.
can.
I know you, and I
Yeah.
know your character already. So with you and Amelia, you have seen Amelia and seen how brave she was and how much she fights to hang on, right? You've seen the character, you've seen the value that she holds.
Right.
So when you ask that, so if Amelia were, if I were to present this whatever decisions to Amelia, what would she do? You basically
I know.
completely
Yep.
embrace that character of Amelia and say, "What would Amelia do?" You know what she
I
would
know
do.
what you do.
It's not
Right.
like I'm guessing. Oh, this is what she. No, I think you know. I think you know, and I think that's also part of our human nature as well. We are able to like, I guess, put ourselves in the other person's point of view, like
Yeah.
like walk in their shoes kind of deal. So when you do that, you're able to understand something. Like I say, I've read your book, I've talked to you, I understand you. I feel some of the feeling. I feel sad, but also inspired. Right? How do I get that? I mean, how did you get the feeling just by reading a book? It's because you have the ability to put yourself in that person's shoes. Why am I so afraid of dealing with the pain that you're dealing? Because I was able to transfer some of that into my own perspective and kind of look at it. So that's the thing, is you, whatever you do as what Amelia would do, I think would be accurate. And so when you say that, if you don't even know if Amelia, it's like this or like that, I think that's not true, because I think like 90% whatever you ask Amelia to do, and from your perspective of how you see Amelia in the days that she was here on Earth with you, you know exactly the kind of decision you will make.
Oh, fuck yeah. I mean, like,
Yeah.
I 100% without a doubt. That's why I said it's not even a question in my mind when I do these things, because I know so it's funny you say that, because, like, one of the most popular sayings in this world is WWJD, right? What would Jesus do? People study, they think they know Jesus, and they think they know what would he do, and it becomes a part of them, and like, and they think about that, you know what I mean, when before they act, right? Like, before they make a decision of to take a step forward, they literally say, so some people that really believe in this stuff, like, what would Jesus do in this scenario? Like, I feel like I know the guy. I've seen his story. I know, what he's all about, and I know what I want to embody, what he inspires me to want to embody in my own life, right? Like, I think in a lot of ways, Christianity is living for two, right? We're all, Jesus was sacrificed for us all, right? I mean, that's the whole story behind it all, right?
Right.
And it's not crazy. Like, I mean, like, we just see in other people the embodiments of yes, I want to be like that. Like, that is a part of me that aligns to who I am. And my daughter showed me something that I didn't know about myself, right? And then at the same time, I didn't know that somebody could ever be that strong and be that tiny, like, and I mean, she never spoke a word, and I knew who she was and how she lived her life. That's shit that, like, I can't even begin to fathom, that I've only discovered through this whole journey, right? Like, but I know what dragged me out, and it was community. It wasn't, and it was her. Like, and then it was you, and then it was God, and then it was my family, and then it was my friends, then it was like everybody, right? It took me a long time. Yeah, I mean, it took my wife. You make a really good point about my wife, like, I know Amelia's always been there with her too along the way, But like, those nightly like Amelia walks that her and I took, that was probably the only damn time that we, even spent any time like, that was the first time we ever started really talking about what was going on in our in life, and
Right,
talking
and
about
that's the thing is, Amelia pull you out, and then you based on what would Amelia do, you do the activity that she would do,
right,
and that essentially pulls your wife out as well. Because the
right,
thing is, without the nightly walks, you guys completely gonna be isolated.
for
I mean,
sure. I mean,
she's not gonna open up because there's no opportunity for her to even say, okay. I mean, even when you walk down do the nightly walk, and then she cries, right? That's her opening up and connecting with you,
it is, yeah. I
right?
mean,
Because if she doesn't cry, that means she's not even showing you the emotion that she's having, and
right,
that basically isolates her even further. But the force of what would have made her do activities, right, forces you to do the thing you supposed to do, and then that kind of like basically you reaching out your hand to your wife. Because
right,
thing is, I mean, these kind of things here, like it is so, to me, it is very hard. I mean, I don't know if I can even handle this kind of pain, right? And I don't know if most people can even handle that.
well,
And to
you
say
never
that,
know
hey,
until you're there. I mean, I would have said the same thing before, you know what I mean? Like that's
right,
the whole
but
point of the book. I can't imagine,
my
right?
point is statistically, most people are in this pain like where then they lost a child. Statistically, they're gonna get divorced. Okay, statistically, and so I'm speaking from the numbers,
Right,
because they completely, you know go and do the separate things, right? They isolate completely. Without that connection, you don't stay together.
right.
And statistically, people have broken family because that thing, that bond, that's completely broken. Like when two-person, right? What's the bond when you and your wife met, right? The bond is, you like her and she likes you because of common, whatever preference. And then once you have a kid, that's the bond, right?
Mhm.
But once a kid is no longer on Earth, that bond is broken, and because the bond that's broken is so strong, you repel and you go to your isolated respective isolation of despair, and you stay there, and without
Mhm.
somebody reaching the hand over. Because the thing is, you think about it, you guys go in your own room. You're not reaching out your hand to her, and she's not reaching her hands to you. She say, "Well, I'm too much pain. I'm not going to do anything." Your mom reach out to you, you don't do anything. Your uncle texts you, don't do anything, right? You don't do anything, and that's the point, because you cannot save yourself, right? It's just not possible. Just like
Right.
when you're in a dream, you can't just wake yourself up. How can you wake yourself up? You can't. Some
Yeah.
external things or your biological clock will actually need to wake you up. But
Mhm.
once your biological clock is broken, it doesn't allow you to wake up. There's no way you wake up. And
Yeah.
so that's the danger of getting into this trance, right? The trance could be, your pain is too much, and you isolate yourself so that you can protect and live the life that you still have. The other thing is when you have drugs that completely isolates you, that completely removes you from what life there is left in you.
Right.
And the only final solution for you is, you're just waiting for death.
Pretty much. Or some atomic bomb event that happens that a lot of times there's, I mean, I've never been an, a drug addict, so like to the point in time where I've never been a drug addict, but I've never been to the point in time where like a lot of these people that are in these kind of books and stuff like that, I can't imagine what that life is like. I mean, honestly, I really
Mhm.
cannot imagine. I've seen it with one of my best friends, and I helped him through his recovery. So I saw what it looked like when he stopped doing it, but I didn't know what it was like when he was doing it because I was
Right.
not around that. And but it makes you like, a lot of the stories that I've heard of people that have made it back, there's some atomic bomb event that shakes them out. You hear it all the time, hit rock bottom, whatever it is, right? Like rock bottom is some atomic bomb event that you literally they did not see coming. That there's like, even all the signs pointed toward that something really devastating happened. Like, you lose you have a miscarriage or something like that because you're a drug user, or all the time, or you have one of your
Yep.
children dies, or something like that because you're passed out.
It reminds me of uh, I guess this is probably too nerdy, but this the the spaceship. When they get near like a star, right? Let's say let's say you take the spaceship to the sun, right? Because the sun is a star, it's huge, right? It has gravity. So the moment you get in it, it's gonna suck you. You're gonna suck you to the gravity,
Mhm.
and it's going to take you there unless you shoot an atomic bomb to it that blasts to push you
Yep,
enough to go out. So the same analogy can
it's a
apply
good
to a
analogy. Yeah.
person gets sucked into this depth of isolation. The only way to get out of it is somebody come and reach and pull you out, or you shoot an atomic bomb that blast kind of blew you the opposite way. And
Right.
so you're talking about like you're in this drug addictions, and your best friend or your brother or somebody close to you die. It is more devastating than the pain you have that wakes you up.
Right.
Only then you have this. So not only do you have to have something much more that you have right now, because you talk about the force of gravity that sucks you into the atmosphere of the star. The blast has to be greater force than the pull for you to push it out, because that's just plain physics, right?
Right.
Because you can't say, "Hey, I'm gonna blast a small, little bomb here." It's not gonna do anything. It doesn't have enough force to
Yep.
counteract the
Get
pull
getting
of.
arrested or whatever,
Yeah, that doesn't.
it sucks. Like, I gotta live on the street tonight. Like, it's all right, but like it's not devastating, right?
Yeah,
It's but yeah, you're right. It's when something devastating happens that you need to be able to an atomic bomb happens, right?
it has to
Yeah.
blast you in the
Right.
opposite direction. It's fitting because it's just a law of physics, and a law of physics applies to the emotion of people as well.
Hmm. It's what is how would Nassim Taleb, it's like drug use is like mediocrity stand, where you're expecting the same thing every single day, day after day
Hmm.
after day, where you know what I mean, where it's like, yeah, it's in between a range, like
Right.
you know what I mean, and then yeah, right. It's when something outside of that, shakes you one way or another,
Right.
and you realize you're
Give
not.
me a black swan event.
Right. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. No, I'm serious. His Black Swan event was twofold. Um, um, the person that he was, this is probably sharing too much information, so hopefully he's okay with me sharing this. But the person that he was with, the partner that he was with, she was, kind of his partner in crime. She was the one that introduced him to this world. Like when they
Hmm.
first started, dating, it was just all fun and games.
Right.
She was a little bit older. He was like 19 or something like that. He didn't go to college with all of us, so he was back at home, and he met this girl, and she was like 30 or something like that. And she had her own life, she had her own career, she had her own children, she had one child or something like that, and she had this like really fun, party group of 30-year-olds that got fucked up all the time, and would do whatever. And like my friend, like, just ended up, he liked her, started dating her, and they became like, a couple, and he was living at her house, and she was like his sugar mama kind of thing, and kind of supporting him, and he would hang out with her friends, and they all loved him. And snowballed, 2-3 years down the road, where they had a child. Her name was Samantha, and she's like 18 now. And that child got, you know at first they were able to take care of her, and then both of their drug addictions got worse and worse, and then she got pregnant again, and unfortunately the second pregnancy, the drug use, killed that child.
Hmm.
And then from there, my friend had like this devastating car wreck, that he, almost killed himself in it, because he fell asleep at the wheel. And that was when we both talked again finally, and I was like, this is, are you ready to fix this shit? And he was like, yes, I gotta get the like, fucking help me, and that was when, I was in a position to help him. And that was when, I took him away from Indianapolis, as I just moved up to South Bend, Indiana, which is like 3 hours away. And after I graduated from school, and that was how, he's still alive and doing well and thriving today, right? Like he wanted to change, and
Hmm.
I wanted to help him. And like you said, it's a mutual thing, right? Like
Right.
it's not one or the other can't be true. Like I
Right.
like I tried multiple times before that to like help him out. As a matter of fact, he moved in, with my parents and I, when we were seniors in high school, because I was
Hmm.
trying to, help him then. And he fucked over my parents, and my parents even were like, I can't he can't stay here. I'm like, oh God, what are you doing? You know, I'm like, you know, but anyway, like to your point, it wasn't bad then. He didn't have that atomic bomb event hadn't happened yet. You know,
Right.
fast forward 4 years later, and he had multiple atomic bomb events, and finally it was like I got to stop. Like this has to change. You know, and yeah. So I mean, like that's his story. Like he could tell you that story. You know, I mean that's not my story. All I did was try to be that community to help him. You know,
Right.
and but that's the whole point, is right. The antidote to a lot of this stuff is you know, don't isolate yourself. You know,
Yeah,
like
it's the connections to the community, right? The
yeah.
community doesn't do anything unless you're willing to connect,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because if you don't connect, then it's only half a solution.
Right.
So you need the other person reaching out, and you're gonna have to also reach out and meet in between for that person to save you.
So for everybody listening to this, because we're over time, so we can probably put a pin in it for the night. But for anybody listening to this, like this is what we're here for. If you want to talk, or you want somebody to help, like that's like to ease your pain, we are happy to take this journey with you. If you want to take it with us via video and you go to our YouTube channel or something like that, fine. If you want to talk to us face to face or in person, or you know, you want to come on here, like let us know. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. Like find a way to reach out, because we will be willing to have that conversation and help you. Like we're willing to reach our hand out there,
Right.
but you have to want to engage as well.
Yeah, definitely. You know, it's the sense of community that is valuable to us. That sense of community, meaning that you have to willing to reach out your hands, and we are willing to reach out ours to meet you in the middle to work, and that defines what a community is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
So that's a great spot to end it on. So the question we can ask for anybody watching is, what do you do when you're in pain? Do you retreat, or do you embrace the world around you? I think you know where we stand if you've been listening to the past 2 episodes, but you know, yeah.
Yeah, it is our nature to retreat, but the retreat, based on what we've seen so far, is not the solution, and the
No.
solution is to do the opposite of it.
Yes. Absolutely. Awesome. All right, everyone. Well, we will see you all Monday.
Sounds good. Good night.